Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Rutledge, and I am here to read another story for you and with you. And if you are just watching me on my YouTube channel, Super Busy Teacher, welcome. I hope you enjoy this story as well as lots of others that we're doing. And if you're a Northmont kindergarten student, you're watching this because we're learning about life cycles as part of our distance learning. And we have been learning and we have been reading a lot of butterfly stories and doing some pages in our packet this week that have to do with the life cycle of a butterfly. And we also are learning about the life cycle of a chicken. And I have some eggs in an incubator at my house, and they should be hatching around June 1st or so. So, and we'll be posting some videos of that as well. But before we do that, I'm going to read and share some information and stories with you about the chicken life cycle so we can get ready for our learning. All right, so today I have a story for you. It's called, appropriately, the chick life cycle. Yeah, and we see a little fuzzy baby chick right there on the cover. So cute. I'm not exactly sure what our baby chicks are going to look like, but they might look similar. They might have a little brown in them. Yeah, it should be fun. Here's our title page, Chick Life Cycle. This story is by Elizabeth Bennett. I'm going to read this story to you because it's a smaller book and I want to be able to show you the illustrations really well. So we're going to read this story this way today. All right, and there again is another baby chick. You'll notice that this story has pictures of real baby chicks in it. That's because it is a nonfiction story, and or sometimes we call that informational text, because it's giving us facts and information about something real. So we're going to see real pictures. So that's fun. A lot of times in nonfiction stories, they will have a table of contents. A table of contents is kind of handy because it tells us what types of information this story is going to be sharing with us. So this table of contents is divided up into 4 different chapters, and it tells us what each chapter is going to talk about. So chapter 1 is going to talk about chicks and chickens, and it begins on page 4. Chapter 2 is an egg is laid, so that's going to start on page 10. Chapter 3 is called Time to Hatch, so that's page 14. And chapter 4 is called Growing Up, and that's going to start on page 18. So let's do a quick little quiz here. If I wanted to find out about how chicks hatch from their eggs, which chapter would I go to find out that information? If you said Time to Hatch, chapter 3, you would be right, because it says time to hatch. So this chapter is going to be all about how the baby chicks get out of their eggs and hatch from their eggs. How about if I wanted to learn about different kinds of chickens? Oops, sorry. Yeah, if you said chapter 1, the one about chicks and chickens, that would probably be where I'd find information about different kinds of chickens. How about if I wanted to learn about what an egg is like? If I want to find out information about what an egg is like, probably chapter 2, an egg is laid, is probably going to tell us all about eggs and maybe the parts of an egg. And if you're doing our packet this week, there's a couple pages in there about the inside of an egg and what's inside of that egg and the different parts and labeling. So that would be a good thing to read. And if I wanted to find out about how chicks grow, what chapter would I look in? Yeah, probably chapter 4, called Growing Up, is going to tell us about how those chicks grow after they're hatched. And then at the very end, on a couple pages, there's a glossary and some comprehension questions. A glossary has like important, sometimes it'll have important words and definitions of what they mean, like some important vocabulary that you need to know. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1, Chicks and Chickens. Cheep, cheep, cluck, cluck. This book will tell you all about chicks and chickens. And here we see a picture of a chicken with a baby chick sitting on top of its mommy. Yeah. A baby chicken is called a chick. An adult female chicken is called a hen. And an adult male chicken is called a rooster. So here's a regular hen chicken, like a mommy chicken, and baby chicks. And then the daddy, the male, is called a rooster. Roosters usually have these very fancy tail feathers. Not all chickens look the same. There are more than 100 breeds of chickens in the world. So more than 100 different kinds. That's a lot. These pictures show 7 breeds of chickens. How is each one different? So here we have a buff Brahma chicken, and you can see they have feathers on their feet, which is kind of interesting. And we have a white leghorn chicken and a Derby red cap chicken. And we can see this one's all white, obviously, with red on its head, and its legs are kind of an orange color. And then this one is kind of dark feathers with more red feathers on its head, and then its legs are kind of gray in color. Over here we have white lace red Cornish, and they have really powerful big legs. Very strong legs and dark feathers. Here we have an interesting chicken. This is called a silver camping chicken. Or campine, not really sure. But it's got some really pretty black and white feathers, and so that it looks kind of silvery. And a white, really pretty white feathers on its head, and really fancy tail feathers. And then down here we have another black and white chicken called a Dominique chicken. And this one is a New Hampshire red. And we can see it's probably called a red because its feathers are kind of a reddish brown color. So yeah, lots of different chickens. All of the chickens in one breed have feathers with the same color and pattern. Parts of a chicken. This picture shows the main parts of an adult chicken. Chickens have feathers and wings, but they cannot fly very far. They get around mostly by walking. So yeah, chickens are part of the bird family because they have feathers, but they don't fly as much like other birds. They can fly like to just get up to high places, like in a barn or the top of a fence. But their bodies are so big and heavy that they can't fly really long distances. So we have, obviously, the chicken's head. And this red thing on the top is called a comb. And you can see it's called a comb probably because it has kind of that spiky look like a comb has. And then we have their beak. And it's very strong, thick beak, and it's kind of curved down. They use that beak for pecking a lot at the ground. That's where they find their food. And then underneath some chickens have what's called a wattle, which is like this red kind of flap of skin that is underneath their beak or hangs down the side of their beak. That's a wattle. Turkeys have wattles too. Then we have tail feathers are back here. If it's a female, it's going to have short tail feathers, so this one's probably a female. If it's long, fancy feathers, then it's going to be a male or a rooster. Here's their wing on their side. And their wing has a combination of different types of feathers in it that have different functions. And then they have their legs with their very sharp talons or claws on the ends. And they use that to scratch at the dirt a lot. You'll see chickens, if you ever sit and watch chickens for a while, they scratch a lot at the dirt. And the scratching that they do is they like to scratch up the dirt because to find insects, little insects underneath the ground. So they claw at the dirt and scratch up the dirt to find those insects, and then they peck at them. Yeah. Over here we have a close-up, and we can see that this comb is a little bit different. It's not spiky, it's more rounded and bumpy. And then it's got that wattle underneath and the beak and their beautiful eye and these beautiful silvery gray feathers. Both hens and roosters have red combs and wattles, but chickens do not start out looking this way. Let's learn about their life cycle to see how they grow and change. Chapter 2, An Egg is Laid. See this hen? She is laying an egg. Most hens lay 1 or 2 eggs a day. Fun fact, if an egg has not been fertilized, then a chick does not grow inside. These are the eggs that we eat for breakfast. Yeah, I love scrambled eggs for breakfast. If the egg has been fertilized by a rooster, then a chicken begins to grow inside. And this is what that looks like. On the first day, the tiny red dot in this egg means a baby chick will grow. So here's that little red dot. After 5 days, the chick-to-be is growing. At this point, it is called an embryo. So about 5 days, it looks like this. It's a little bigger. You can start to see different kinds of shapes. We have a head, and then the spine or the back here, and a tail, I think, there. And this dark part in the center is their heart. Let's take a peek inside a fertilized egg. It takes about 3 weeks for the egg to develop into a chick. After 9 days, the embryo continues to grow and change. Can you see a little eye? Can you see the eye right there? Yeah, and there's a little wing right there and a leg right there. And this is that yolk, the part of the egg that we usually eat when we eat eggs. This is that yolk, and the yolk is what the baby is using for its food. Yeah, it likes the yolk too. In about 21 days, now the baby chick looks very much like a bird, and it is almost ready to hatch. And this is what it looks like, or would look like, all scrunched up inside that egg. It's amazing to think that they can be that scrunched up in there. Yeah, and you'll see here's a leg, and there's its beak. Its eyes are closed, and right there on the end of its beak, that's called an egg tooth. That little white thing. Chapter 3, Time to Hatch. A hen sits on her eggs until it's time for them to hatch. She keeps them nice and warm. This is called incubation. And I don't have a chicken to sit on my eggs, so I have them in a machine called an incubator that keeps them warm with air. It blows warm air and keeps them the temperature so that they'll be able to hatch. And it'll be great after about 21 days. When a chick is ready to be born, it uses its egg tooth to break through its shell. So there you can see, there's a close-up. There's that little white part on the end of their beak. This lump is called a chick's beak. The lump on the chick's beak is called an egg tooth. And we saw that in the other picture as well. And there's a picture of how this little chick, so they start out poking little holes through the shell, and it takes quite a while for them to do that because they have to rest, and they make a line of little holes, and then eventually they make enough little holes in the shell that then they can kind of start to wiggle around, and it pushes the piece of shell off of it and breaks a piece of that shell off. So then they can start to breathe regular air. But see how he's all wrapped up in there? Yeah. Peck, peck, peck. The chick pecks a small hole around the egg. Then it uses its head to push open the shell. Chicken eggs can be white or brown. Yep, these are kind of a brownish color. This is the color of the eggs in my incubator. The chick keeps pecking and pushing, and at last the tired chick is out of its egg. Welcome to the world. So cute. It takes most chicks about 5 hours to hatch out of their egg. So that's a lot of work for those little babies. It's very, very tiring. Chapter 4, Growing Up. So now they're hatched, and now we're going to see what they do next. When a chick is first born, it doesn't look so cute. It's very wet and very sticky. They have to dry out, and then their feathers get fluffy. Soon the feathers dry and become fluffy. This yellow fluff is called down. These are downy feathers, and they're kind of like their baby feathers. They will grow their adult feathers after a few weeks. They start to have bigger feathers start to grow in. A group of newborn chicks is called a brood. So when you have a group of chicks together, it's called a brood. The new chick explores the world with its mother and fellow chicks. There's much to discover. Chicks eat feed, which is a mixture of grains, and it helps them grow strong. Yeah, after my chicks hatch, I keep them in a box with a warming light to help keep them warm, and they have a special water dish, and I have special chick food that I buy at the store for them and feed them. And I don't have to teach them how to eat, though. They use their instinct to help them know how to peck at things on the ground. They just do it instinctually. The little chick gets bigger and bigger. It learns how to make a cheeping sound. Cheep, cheep. This helps the chick's mother to find it. Yeah. In a few weeks, the chick sprouts feathers and a tiny red comb and a wattle. In a few months, it will be all grown up. Excellent. It says a 5-month-old female chicken is now old enough to lay eggs. So it takes about 5 months before they're considered to be adult chickens. Yeah, imagine if it only took us 5 months to become an adult. Takes us a lot longer. All right, and here's some of the important words that we had in this story. Breed, which is a type of animal. Brood, which is a group of chicks. A comb, which is that bright red skin on top of the chicken's head. The down, which is the soft feathers of the baby chick when they're first born. Or hatched, I should say. The egg tooth, which is that sharp bump on the end of the newborn chick's beak that they use to peck out of their shell. An embryo is what we call an animal when it's in the first stages of development inside the egg. Feed, which is a mixture of grains that chicks eat. Fertilize is when reproduction begins and an egg is fertilized and then it can become a baby chick. Incubation, which is when the eggs are kept warm for a certain number of days until they're ready to hatch. For chickens, it's 21 days usually. Depends if it's a really hot outside and the temperature is higher than 99.5, they may develop a little quicker. If it's colder out and it gets cooler and the chicken, maybe the mommy chicken leaves the nest quite a lot, it slows down the development, so it may take a little longer, but it's usually around 21 days. And then the wattle, which is the red skin that's underneath the chicken's beak. So there you go. And there's some questions at the end. Can you name and describe 2 parts of a grown-up chicken? Let's see. We learned about their comb, their wattle, their beak, their tail feathers, or their wing, their legs, their claws. Did you think of any of those? Number 2, can you share 2 facts about a chick that is growing inside an egg? 2 facts. One thing we learned is that it's called an embryo when it's growing inside the egg. And we also know it develops that egg tooth on its beak when it's still inside the egg. Number 3, can you share 2 facts about a chick that is hatching from an egg? Well, we learned that when the chick starts to, it pecks a little hole, called it a little air hole, and then it starts to peck several little holes around the shell, and then it uses its body to push the top part of the shell off. And we also learned that it takes about 5 hours for the chick to get out of the egg, so it takes a while for that to happen. And we learned that they're wet when they come out of their shell, and they have to dry off. So yeah. Number 4, can you think of 2 words to describe a chick? What can you say about a baby chick? That they're small, that they have downy feathers. Maybe you said that they are cute, because they are pretty cute. They make a cheeping sound. Yeah. And here's some jokes. What did the egg do when the hen told it a joke? It cracked up. Why did the chick's beak break? Because it was cheap. Ha ha. So there you go. So there's all about the chick life cycle. I hope you enjoyed this story with me today. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that story with me today. And there's a few pages in our packet all about chickens and the chick life cycle. And there's a page about the egg and the parts of the egg on the inside. So you can choose to do one of those pages maybe after you finish the story with us. So, all right, see you later.